right, good morning and welcome to our Ask You Agronomist segment. We are here again this week with Phil Long. Phil, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Get to join you every now and then. It seems like I miss more than I make anymore.
I know, it's fun. It keeps it a surprise.
Yep.
So today we're doing a pre-recorded version in anticipation of the bad weather. So next week, all hopes that we'll be coming to you live, but this week we're going to be doing a recorded version.
Yep.
All right, topic of the day is precision ag.
Yeah, a little fun topic, kind of just to interject in the middle before we start something else. I thought it'd be fun to throw something interesting in here that maybe people have thought about or haven't even seen, but we'll find out. It's a new concept. So.
Okay, and precision ag, but more importantly, breaking those cost barriers. So how do you implement it in your operation too?
Yeah, that's really kind of the sum up of this whole thing is just breaking some of those barriers down so that guys that maybe want to get started but look at the cost of a monitor, cost of the system and a piece of equipment, they're like, holy cow.
Right.
Yeah, that's what this is kind of all about.
Okay, so one tip to many, but hopefully this is helpful.
Yep, so the John Deere 4640 is a new display. It's part of the 4600 series of displays, 4600 Command Center they call it now. Came out in 2014 is when these displays started coming out. But the concept that we want to talk about this breaking the cost barriers is really in the features and benefits of the display. So and up front we want to say that we don't have any ties really to John Deere. I'm not getting paid by John Deere in any way. But it's a great example. They're really the first ones to dive into this kind of realm. And so what I mean by that is when it comes to a display, most guys are familiar with things like auto steer. So auto track in this case typically is an activation, a one-time fee that the farmer pays to get that on that monitor, and then it stays there. So they can transfer it, they can sell it, and it's there.
Right.
Now they're changing it to a subscription-based idea. So it's a yearly fee to maintain that, and it doesn't necessarily stay with the monitor. So really a totally different idea,
It is.
And most of the other display companies, Ag Leader, Trimble, Case, all the other display companies out there are not where they're at yet. So this is just kind of a new thing, and just want to bring it up as a hot topic.
Yep. Okay. So we're just going to take a flash to the past here.
Yeah, trip down memory lane. I just thought it'd be fun.
Look at that thing.
We started at Generation 4, but we're going to jump back to the beginning here. So the brown box, as some people may remember it being called. Most people probably don't have a love affair with this one, but this was actually the first monitor I ever used in a combine. The Generation 1 John Deere brown box. So it was a black and white display, nothing fancy, but did parallel tracking. Still high demand really today. People use it on tillage equipment and stuff for guidance things. I had a big card that you put in the top. Nowadays we just use USB sticks, and now we're at the point of wireless transfer, which we'll get to in a second. So. Somewhat limited, but still a very good display, very hardy. It's a tough display. A lot of them still being used. Okay. So this was the beginning, and then every company had a beginning, and this was Deere's beginning.
So this was which year?
So this was early 90s, actually.
Early 90s,
They claimed late, the last year of 80, I think, 89 or so.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. But then the Generation 2, which is the 2600 monitor, which most people are probably somewhat familiar with, came out around 2005. And this was their first color display. So touchscreen, color, huge jump in terms of technology compared to the brown box, This also picked up a lot of features like swath control, which you couldn't really manage on the brown box, the Generation 1. And that's where a lot of that profit comes from. When people jump up to the first level of precision ag, they start on auto steer, swath control, those kind of things. So, you got a lot of, headlands that are not square and so forth, and you see a lot of benefit from that swath control and row shutoffs and things like that. So a lot more advanced features, still a little bit clumsy. I've got a lot of guys will admit. And then they jumped on to the Generation 3, which came out around 2010. This was the 2630, so a step up, still obviously touchscreen color, a lot more advanced features, working with more rate controllers, just to kind of expanded the ability and capabilities of it working with things, as we'll talk with in a second, working with more equipment and so forth. And then jumped on to the new display where we're at here, which was in around 2014, the Generation 4.
Okay, that looks nice.
Yeah, they kind of look identical to the previous ones. Nothing terribly fancy, but yeah, this is they can show you too an extended display kind of model, so you can look at all your features on one thing with a planner, you know, and then have a map, you know. And I didn't talk about documentation, but this could show you the documentation, you know, show you where it overlaps at and how much you're putting down and so forth. So.
Yep. Okay. Well, good deal. Do you want to jump on into activations versus subscriptions? I know we touched a little bit on that,
yeah.
but
so, and I mentioned that in the beginning. That's kind of the whole point of this. Is the idea behind a switch between the normal thought process that everybody's used to. You know, before we had an activation, you know, so you paid a one-time fee. It was pretty hefty, a couple grand for an activation for auto track or swath control. And so now this new display is going to be a fee-based, subscription-based 1 year. So you can pay for 1 year of auto track, or you can pay 1 year of all the things combined. Or you can do it 5 years at a time. Be careful though, because from what I've heard, if you don't, when you buy the display, if you don't say you want to do 5 years, you don't get another chance to do 5 years. So, interesting little thing. But you know, just ask lots of questions. But it's just an interesting concept, because what that does is it takes the cost down. So the cost of this monitor is roughly a third of what the previous 2630 was. So it dramatically drops the cost of that equipment. Therefore, dropping the entry kind of barrier for most guys. You know, if you're looking at it like, man, I just can't put $15,000 this year to jump up to this. Well, now you can start out at well under half of that. Basically, to get into something where you can use auto track, and if you have capabilities on your planner, you just don't have this in your tractor, then this provides a really good option for that.
Yep, and maybe a little bit more of an option that you can grow with the technology, since it is changing so quickly.
Yeah,
you're not stuck in the generation 2.
Yep, and that's the other thing that this does. You know, it's a continual. You know, nowadays it seems like a lot of times what I notice is you have issues with a computer or technology. It's about an update, right? You know, everything's always updating. You know, and this guy provides a continual update, because they're going to update features and things, and so now it's kind of a forced. You know, you're being somewhat forced to do that on a regular basis, which is good. You know, because you have some of these older monitors, you don't make the updates, then you have issues, glitches and things. So keeping regular updates on your monitor is important to begin with. It's just kind of helping people make sure they do that every year.
Right, yeah, I'm very guilty of not. All right, so this is kind of a fun topic. We were excited about this when we came in this morning.
So I wanted to point out some of the features of that, you know, this new display, and this is one of them, you know, the ISO bus. People talk about CAN bus, ISO bus. What are all these terms mean? Well, really, guys are probably familiar with that little plug on the back of their tractor that connects the tractor to the implement. That's really kind of the whole computer for that communication and discussion between the tractor and the implement. That's what the ISO bus is in simple terms. It's that communication. So your monitor basically kind of taps into that system, that big heavy cord, and it displays that stuff for you to see, and then records it and so forth. So I threw this up here because the idea behind this universal display is they want to get to a point where things are more universal. So to put this in terms that a lot of people understand, I'm kind of an older antique tractor guy, so I'm going to bring out something that's well over 50 years ago. But back when the antique tractors were out, there's a lot more brands than we have now. You know, not just green, red, and a couple others. You know, we had a lot of tractor brands, and a lot of them had their own hydraulic couplers. So you get to the back there, you go to hook up a disc or whatever, and it's a different kind of coupler. You know, it's very frustrating. So now, and they have ISO couplers too now. What they did was Pioneer came out with a coupler to make it universal. So they started putting universal couplers on, made it a whole lot easier. No matter what brand of tractor you go borrow your neighbor's, you could hook up and be fine. So that's kind of the idea with the computer part. That these monitors and displays, when you back up with your tractor to another brand, a color, whatever it is, an implement, that ISO connection is universal. So that it talks. No matter what brand it is, no matter what country it's made in, no matter what it is, it communicates with your monitor so that you can see the data, because that's really what we're going for. You know, to pay all this money and to not be able to record the data is, you know, you don't want to be there, you know, and especially with that much money invested, you want to be able to not have to do all this for the different controllers and so forth. You know, and be able to hook up to it. So that's one of the nice features about this display. You know, compatibility wise. Some of the other ones that I didn't mention. that they bumped up from the 2630 is some user friendliness, which is
Right.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because they moved a lot of the icons, you could say, into things that we're used to on our smartphones. And another really neat thing, guys are used to run screens. You know, this is a run screen. This is another run screen. You can actually just swipe, like in your phone, slide back and forth.
Oh,
So
interesting.
some things that make people, instead of being frustrated like the 2600 I mentioned before, about how the heck do you get around in this, to making it more user-friendly and seeing icons up there that you understand and you don't have to be trained so hard on.
Right.
You jump in, look at this, you're like, okay, that makes sense.
It'll
You know,
come
it's a little,
natural instincts.
yes,
Yep.
a little more natural, a little easier to understand.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's several. I mean, this display itself. I mentioned the extended display. It also has turning functions now. You know, speed-based, distance-based turning. So it'll do all those calculations. You know, lift the implement, turn at the end. You know, so you can sleep. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, a lot of features like that. It also has a it doesn't allow overriding, so if like I would send a prescription to somebody for a planning recommendation, a seating population map prescription, straight to the cab, you know, it wouldn't overwrite something that's already there. So before they had issues with that, you know, and obviously this, like with the 2630, has all those wireless capabilities, you know, and they've just expanded that. The one thing about this, you know, people are like, why do they keep have to update these things?
Yep.
There's more and more technology. That CAN plug I was talking about, they're almost to the point where we need two of them.
Okay.
You know, because you get a 48-row planner, how much data is going through that cord?
Right.
A lot, especially when you add more sensors on the planner. So the speed and capabilities of these monitors, if you plug the brown box into one of these newer planners, it'd probably explode. You know, I mean, it's just that they have to be able to process data so much faster. You know, we're getting to the point of where we want to be able to do things like sensor technology on applicators, be able to, you know, scan the leaf with some kind of light emitting sensor and then take it back and then put out a rate of nitrogen. I mean, that is a lot of communication between the system and the piece of equipment. So there's just a lot of stuff moving there that you have to have that newer
processor.
Newer stuff for. So it's the idea behind this monitor itself, you know, and other ones I'm sure we'll be able to talk about in the future. That's the exciting part to me. But like we said in the beginning, I mean, kind of the idea behind this concept is breaking some of those barriers to entry.
Yep.
So for those guys that like, oh well, I have a tractor, you know, that you know, I can't. Maybe I don't have enough money to drop in $15,000 worth of monitor and equipment. Something like this may be a really good option, and you have more touch points with the dealer. You know, you're going to have more updates. They're going to come out. You know, you have that annual kind of checkup, you know, and fee, so forth. That you can rely on and make sure that things are working right too. So.
All right, good stuff. Well, like Phil said, one option of many that you can use, and Phil is always available to talk more about other options with you. So
yes, there's lots of things when you start going down the precision ag road, but to me, the monitor side is really where a lot of guys start. And when they start on that auto track, auto steer, those kind of things, that's when they're like, oh, I'm hooked. I need this. You know, this is a value to me. You know, you may not see the direct savings, but you see the reduction in your operator fatigue, reduction in overlap and things like that. And that's when guys get excited. Then you can start playing around with things like what I can help you with on the prescription side of things.
Yeah.
So, and you know, any of those monitors have a lot of capabilities down that road. So I'd be happy to talk with anybody about that.
All right, sounds good. Good stuff. Well, thanks to our followers for tuning in, and see you back next week. Have a good day.